Hello, everybody. Welcome to our latest edition of The Yard Sign, the most important relevant podcast in politics, and as I always like to say, also the most diverse conservative podcast in politics. Your host is always Jonny Torres. Thank you so much for watching. Yes, we're here even on spring break for those of you with children. We are having a great time this week. Fortunately, some of us get some time off, some of us don't, but regardless, we wanted to continue to keep you up to date on what's happening in the world of news and politics. And so this week, of course, no different for this show. We appreciate you watching, listening, whenever, wherever you may be doing so. Don't forget, if you would like to subscribe to the audio version of this show, you can find us on just about any podcast platform out there. So make sure to check out the tech overlords at Google, Apple, Spotify, Audible, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Odyssey, and Samsung podcast platforms for The Yard Sign. And if you'd like the video version to see our beautiful faces, you can catch that on Facebook and YouTube and watch those videos as much as you want. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. As you can see, we got a lot on the docket for today in terms of topics, and we've got a very special guest joining us today, a first-time guest that I'm very excited about. So we'll get to our guest in just a moment. Let's go ahead and do a rundown of today's topics. We're going to welcome back the GOAT. And if you don't know what we're talking about, well, that's quite a nice rock you've been living under. Friends in low places. Joe Biden is going out there and looking for more oil, given that, of course, he got us in bed with the Russians. And so we'll pick that apart. Jussie, or as, well, I'll let you say it later, Jussie is not suicidal. And well, we'll talk about exactly what that means. The Florida session ends. Yes, that's right. The legislature did its job. I think there's a couple of loose ends here, so it'll get extended into this week. But pretty much policy-wise, we are wrapped up in Tallahassee. We'll talk about some of the big issues to come out of this year's legislative session. In Tampa City drama, we have a resignation on the table from one of our city councilmen. We'll talk about why that is coming up in just a bit. Don't forget, if you'd like to join us live on the show and you want to chime in on one of our topics, you can join us on Clubhouse. We're broadcasting live right now. Search for The Yard Sign is the name of the room, or you can search for Jonny Torres and follow me on there. I'll be more than happy to follow you back. In the meantime, hold on. I didn't start my timer here. How irresponsible. I mean, we got to make sure we got to stay on task today. So let's go over to the big table for an introduction of tonight's guest and my co-host, as usual. Over there on the far left is the far right, Anibal David Cabrera. Hello, sir. No, I didn't say you could talk yet.
Hello. NASA, are you there? Houston? Hello. No. Oh, okay.
All right. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fabulous. I worked out this morning. I thought that was really fun.
I like it.
The wife has the week off, so I have to pretend I'm working.
I feel you there.
I love that dichotomy when we're not working, so she's at the house and she still tries to hide all the packages that are arriving from Amazon.
Yeah,
okay, we have our methods.
Well, there, without further ado, is our very special guest, a cornerstone in what is Hillsborough County politics. She is one of the most, I would say, influential and vocal figures here locally, and certainly has helped get elected more people than I think you could probably count on a few hands. Mm-hmm. And of course, again, that is that is all the credit just goes to our good friend Terry Castro joining us tonight. How are you, Terry?
I'm fine, and I'm very excited. Thank you very much for asking me to come on.
Yeah, we're incredibly excited to have you on because you know this county better than anyone, and you've helped an incredible amount of people get elected to office. You've seen the highs and the lows, and we're going to try to talk about them and kind of mix that in between all of our topics tonight. But here locally, I mean, how long have you been involved in Hillsborough County politics or politics in general?
Wait, better question. Was there a Del Mabry?
Oh,
started
oh my gosh, that is mean.
I'm going to date myself.
Well,
now,
Terry, you know Del Mabry stopped.
Scoot up a little closer there to the table.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dale
Yeah.
Mabry stopped at Bush.
At Bush, it did. It did.
literally
I think that
stopped.
was a little bit before I got here.
Okay.
Yeah. No, we've been in Tampa for 40 years. And I really got into the political cycle or game, whatever you want to call it, when Mark Sharp ran.
Okay.
Because he's,
Hillsborough County Commissioner.
yes,
Yep.
he served with my husband out at Central Command.
Oh, wow.
And my husband just thought the world of him. So
Yeah.
when Mark resigned his commission and wanted to run, Robert says, we're gonna help work for him.
Sure.
And then I met all the other people around, Deborah Cox, Robin, all
Right.
of them, and just became involved in county politics.
Well, and again, even Mark still, even though I don't think he lives here anymore, he's still very hands-on in the
No, he
community.
lives in Colorado.
Right, still very hands-on though
Yes.
with what's happening here.
Yeah.
Still a very big advocate for trying to turn around the university area.
Yes. Yes.
And he kind of made transit, mass transit, that sort of thing, kind of a big staple of his.
Yes.
Which again. It shows you a little bit of the political evolution too over time, because that wasn't really he was a Republican, and
Exactly.
but
Exactly.
he kind of claimed that mantle, and fought hard to get more resources and more funds kind
Exactly.
of put towards that.
And when they put together that coalition, Busch Gardens and the corporate USF out there in the East, to revitalize the area, well, I think Mark was the perfect man.
Yeah.
you know,
And it's
to do
been
that.
a bit of a slow process. I mean, especially when you see, what's happened with
yeah.
downtown and Vinnick, and that on the other
Exactly.
hand, the city basically handed him the keys,
Yeah.
and then just kind of let him do whatever he wants.
That's right.
But slowly but surely, we are seeing the impact that
You
Mark
are
has been
seeing.
talking about for so many years.
When you go out to that area, you can see marked differences. I mean, look at the mall and what they're doing,
Yeah.
and the new businesses that are being built out there, and just the changes made.
Well,
They are making a difference.
Fowler looks so different than it did even 5 years ago.
Exactly.
And you're seeing a lot of new business and a lot of new
Yes.
investment coming into that area, which that area
Yes.
sorely needs.
Yes,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You can't see a marked difference. Takes a while, but
Yeah.
he has really made a mark out there.
Well, one of the things that we love about you is that you kind of have your crew.
Yes, I do.
Your notorious
Yes.
crew here. That really, if not for you guys, again, a lot of things probably wouldn't get done, or wouldn't have gotten done over the last number of cycles.
Well,
handful of cycles, I would say.
It's been a combined effort. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just not one person.
Right.
But when you have the clubs that you have in this county and the way they work together, you can accomplish a lot of things. We did accomplish a lot of things.
Yeah, because in many ways,
Yes.
people often confuse you guys. Unlike a lot of campaigns, you guys typically will open your own campaign office, where you
Yes.
you help all of the campaigns from
Yes.
one singular office, and then people often think that's the official office. people think
Well,
that's
we
the
can't
headquarters.
use the word campaign now. You're going to get
Right.
in trouble now.
Yeah.
Gonna get her in trouble.
Yes, now, I was told you cannot use the word campaign.
Okay.
But you use satellite office
Satellite
for the
office, okay.
candidates,
Right.
It's all volunteer. The space is donated.
Yeah.
The candidates bring in their paraphernalia.
And I mentioned that to make the point that for people that are out there and are involved or want to get involved and are thinking of how to, you don't need an organization.
No.
You don't need an umbrella group, to
No.
tell you what to do or how to do it, because you and your core of friends, and I'm talking about Becky and Robin and,
Exactly.
and again, Debbie before, she left us for the Trump administration. I mean,
Exactly.
you guys would open these offices, and a lot of times you were up and running before the campaigns had
Yes.
their own operations up and running.
Before
Well,
they
a
even
lot-
got into the county, you had
That's
already
right.
opened up,
Especially for the
offices.
federal races. Yeah.
I know. Well, a lot of the smaller campaigns, they can't afford an individual office.
Yep.
And look at how big Hillsborough County is. It's very, very difficult to cover the whole county. And when you have a satellite that you can post things or work out of, it only helps them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not costing anybody really. It's not a big expense, if
Sure.
if it's donated. And I think it helps. Everybody needs to meet all the candidates on the ballot.
Right.
And if you can make that easier, or if you can facilitate that in some way, I think it really helps.
So again, you've been so heavily involved. You've gotten to meet firsthand. I mean, literally greet, handshake, pictures with so many candidates at every level. I mean, I'm talking president on down. Who has been your favorite candidate, I would say, ever? I know it's a tough question, but I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh, my favorite candidate ever. Now you are putting me on the spot. Thanks, John.
I'm going to put you on the record.
I think it has to be Gus Bilirakis.
Really?
That man is so gracious.
Yeah.
And Chad Chronister.
Okay. All right. I like those. I like
Yes.
those choices.
Yeah, Terry likes hugging Chad Cronster.
Notice
I
the
would
no
say
comment.
something, but I'm not going to. Well, I mean, come on.
It's not
Unspoken.
It's unspoken, but we have noticed that the shirt size changes depending if it's a women's federation event that he is going to attend.
Oh my gosh.
And with that, we lose the support of the sheriff's office. Terry, real quick, people in the comment section are asking about your brooch that you're wearing right now.
Oh yeah.
Oh, my DeSantis pin. Can you see it?
Can we,
let's get that.
let's see if we can get that in the
close
Zoom.
up there.
Can
Or
you
not.
see that?
We could,
There we go.
Hey.
There
you
you
can
go.
see it there. Yeah.
Listen, he spoke at our FFRW conference last weekend in Tallahassee.
Yep.
That man was on fire.
Okay, but is it just me, or have you also witnessed the dramatic change from when he was elected 2 years ago in November and today?
Yes.
Big change.
Yes, a big
Huge.
change. He has grown into this job
Yeah.
and so quickly. He stood there and talked to us for, I think, about 45 minutes. Not one note, not one card. Everything was just right there at his recall.
Yep.
And it was almost like maybe it was the knowing that Casey is cancer free now, like something had been lifted.
Okay.
He was animated, he was excited, and he really got the ladies fired up.
Well, it doesn't hurt that he's good looking too. I mean,
Well, it didn't help. He was there in boots and jeans.
Oh.
I mean, who can resist?
Well, the DeSantis are a beautiful family. I mean, like,
Yes.
let's
Yes.
Again,
and
it's unreported, but the jean size changes.
oh, come on.
I will say he was looking good. There for a while he was getting a little pudgy with the sports coat.
Yeah, right.
But he was lean and mean.
That's because we're having to run around trying to take care of all those kids.
I know.
Well, and that's actually the perfect lead in, I think, if we want to go ahead, and we'll remind people after the show as well. You've got a big event coming up, big fundraiser luncheon
Yes.
that we're actually going to be a part of as well. If you want to go ahead and just plug it really quick.
District 6, the Federated Ladies from Hillsborough, Pasco, and Pinellas got together and wanted to do something for Ashley Moody. She's a hometown girl from here in Hillsborough. And I approached the Moody team. They were very excited about it. They said, why don't we come up with the Women Coalition for Ashley Moody? And they've been a big supporter of the event. We're going to do a luncheon on April the 8th at the Doubletree on Cypress Boulevard.
Right.
And we've already got sponsors that are buying tables. The tickets are flying out the door. If you haven't gotten yours yet, please get your ticket. If you need one, call me.
All right. Yeah. And if you message us through any of our social media platforms.
What I was actually about to do is to say that we're going to put the link on the bio for the luncheon in the
good.
bio.
Thank you.
And we'll put it in the comment section. So if you want, it's a great event. It's going to be a great cause.
Yes.
A lot of who's who shows up to these events. They buy tickets, they buy tables, they buy seats. It's a lot of fun. And Jonny and I have actually ran this event before with the podcast. I know it's my hair right now. Can't deal with it. Okay, I'm going to talk like this for the rest of the time. It's drama.
What's going on over there?
I'm having a hair situation.
Oh, I know. Yeah. You've been having a hair situation for like 3 weeks now.
You know
Yeah, I tried to get you to the barbershop last week.
Did you go to the barbershop?
I didn't need to.
Oh, yes, you do.
I'm almost there.
What is that for that you have in the front?
That's how I style it.
That's not style. Anyways, so
Oh my goodness.
so yeah, we last time they had a Federation event, we were there. We set up the
Yes.
booth and everything
when you
else.
hosted the state convention.
Yes.
And we had so much fun.
Yeah.
Being out there, being able to talk to everyone, because everyone who knows anyone goes to your events,
Of course they do.
and because they know
Yes.
that everyone will be there,
Yeah.
and they need to be
That's
seen.
that's the strength of the Federated.
Exactly.
I mean, it's not because Terry Castro's throwing this event.
That's a big part.
You know.
It's a pretty big part of
No,
it.
no. This is the strength of the Federated because we're the heels on the ground
Right.
for any campaign.
Yeah.
And they know that we're the volunteers and we're the ones that get out and really do the work.
Well, and that's the thing, because a lot of people who, again, maybe have never gotten involved to the level that you have or we have, don't realize that even within the people that quote unquote involved,
Yes.
there's still usually only a small percentage of people that actually do the work.
Do the work.
That actually, yeah.
I'm a
No
scholar.
me digas.
And so, again, going back to you opening offices, and walking doors and making phone calls and finding other volunteers for these campaigns. And again, what I love is that you also don't pick a favorite. You're out there helping all
the
Republican
candidates.
candidates. Once we get into these general elections.
Look, you've got to admire these people from putting themselves out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's, as well as I do, that's not easy.
Right.
It's hard on your family, it's hard on you, it's hard on your health.
Mm-hmm.
And without the help and assistance of, grassroots workers, hey, it wouldn't work.
Right. Well, again, thank you so much for being here. We're excited to
I am
have
too.
you and get your thoughts on the issues going on right now.
Thank you.
And again, Terry Castro, part of the the Florida Federation of Republican Women.
Yes.
And again, if you'd like to attend the Ashley Moody fundraiser, make sure you contact us through any of our social media platforms, and we'll be sure to get you in touch with her so you can purchase tickets for the upcoming event, April 8th.
April the 8th.
April the 8th, okay.
Friday.
And that's going to be at the Doubletree right off of the interstate, right off of 275 here in the West Shore Plaza District. All right, let's go ahead and bring back these topics again. Thank you so much to everybody for watching. Got a few people hanging out in our clubhouse room as well. We'll get to them in just a minute. But, of course, we want to welcome back the GOAT. That's right, everybody. Big news broke. Was it today?
Today.
Man, it was
morning.
today.
Yeah.
It already feels like it's been, a couple days. But Tom Brady kind of, pulling the switch or the quarterback fake, I guess, and announcing that he's coming back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for another season. It says he just didn't feel that he was ready to be a spectator. He was ready to be back in on the field and not in the stands. And so, I mean, gosh, where it's so exciting, because again, this is someone who could have gone anywhere to play for any team he would have wanted. And the fact that he chose Tampa Bay, the fact that he has now chosen Tampa Bay for a second time, and we couldn't be more excited because he also just represents what is great about sports. Because you do have your NFL players out there that cause a lot of trouble and give a bad name to the sport and give a bad name to themselves. But Tom Brady, is somebody who, again, against all odds, has never stopped working hard to become the greatest of all time. And it's not even just a label that's thrown around, objectively. It's now pretty definitive that he most likely will be the greatest quarterback of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you'll ever have another Tom Brady.
Yeah, and how
It will
lucky
be-
are we?
It will be many years before you do.
And how lucky are we to be in a position to have him here in town?
Exactly.
Being,
Exactly.
from any standpoint, I mean, it's a win for the community because whether you're a fan of the Buccaneers or whether you're somebody who wants to just witness the greatness that is Tom Brady, I'm sure people have traveled from all over the world to come and see him play.
You can't help but be a fan.
Oh, yeah.
If you were not a fan of the Bucs before, you become a fan
Right.
because of the excitement and what he brings to Tampa Bay.
Well, and there's something special about watching someone excel at that level.
Exactly.
There's something so unique about watching, it's like, again, I never paid attention a single day to the game of golf. But when Tiger Woods came onto the scene, it was just like all of a sudden, if he's playing, I'm watching. And and to his credit as well, he's going to go down as one of the greatest golfers of all time.
Absolutely.
And when he is playing, or when he was playing, it was a spectacle to watch.
I never watched an ounce of golf, but I would watch him.
Yeah. There was something. There's like an it factor there. So,
exactly.
So we're incredibly excited to welcome Mr. Tom Brady and his family back to Tampa Bay for another season. Of course, I'm sure that's why Gronk was kind of staying low, and staying quiet in all this because, they're buddies. They're best friends.
What do you think caused him to come back?
I don't think he was really ready to retire.
Yeah.
No.
Somebody talked him into it. You've accomplished all this. What more is there?
I mean, there are reports. I won't say who these sources are from, but the reports are saying that after 7 weeks at home, he realized how many children he had.
He said, carpool? Why?
Well, and those guys.
How do you carpool at that echelon?
Yeah.
You send a car per kid.
Well, I love all the memes that are coming out about it because one of my favorite ones so far is that all it took was Giselle taking Tom to Whole Foods and Target on one Sunday, and he's like, "That's it. I'm going back to the field." But again, it's one of these things where, they're used to being. He has done this for so long now, 20 plus years in the league. They get used to a routine. When certain month comes around, you start preparing.
Absolutely.
And I think your body knows. Your body's like ready to go, and you're ready to jump right back in, or you're like, you know what, I'm done. I can't.
It's so phenomenal that he's been and is still able to play at the level that he plays.
Yeah.
He's 42?
Right.
At 42, if I had that many bang-ups, I'd be in the home.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and again, to the fact that it's not like he's still playing and he's still doing okay. I mean, he is still out there.
A superstar.
He is still out there, just breaking records.
Exactly.
And he is still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
He is, which is amazing. Despite
the fact that some of these quarterbacks and players that are not only on the Bucs but even on other teams are young enough to be his kid. They're young enough to be his.
That's true.
I'm loving it. I absolutely love it. I will say this though, it's so true. Once the season starts, even if you're not playing, you still want to get back in condition and you want to get back into it all. I almost think of it like in political terms. Like every 2 years, we know it's coming. We know that come that second year, you get that 1 year off after the election, and everyone gets upset because you're not having meetings. I'm like, why are we gonna have a meeting? We just had an election. They ain't doing nothing. They ain't nothing to talk about. Everyone's either won or lost. And then come like 4 or 5 months after that, okay, let's get started.
And
then the new year, you run it into it.
You can see in the clubs.
Yeah.
The membership, escalates, goes up and down, because if it's not an election year, why am I here?
For the drinks.
Yeah. And if it's a free meal, hey, I'm there.
What club do you know gives out free meals?
None that I know of.
Doesn't your club charge people like to eat lunch?
We don't charge, but they can eat at their off the menu. Yeah.
All right.
But
every time Terry opens an office, it's like a spectacle. There is balloons.
Oh yeah.
There are guests. There are speakers.
It's a party.
It's a party.
It is.
You get the Cuban. You get the Cuban. The Cuban pizzas. I love that.
Yeah.
It comes every single time.
We do. We have the balloons.
Gosh.
We've got all the bric-a-brac on the walls and the tables, and
by the way,
just make it a place that people want to come to.
Just a quick shout out to all the Russians who can't have any McDonald's.
Look at that corn syrup.
So glad they brought back that high C orange.
Talking about orange, how is the Orange Theory coming along?
I had to skip last week, so I got to get back on the horse this week. It's all right.
It's all right. It's fine.
Life gets in the way sometimes.
Life does get in the way.
But I mentioned that. But one of the things, as we go ahead and kind of jump into today's topics, real on the fact that some of these companies are trying to make it seem as if they're taking the high road by pulling out of Russia, is so ridiculous because, they're basically using it as a PR opportunity, to seem like they're doing this as a favor, as an anti-war, kind of a movement or statement, when in reality, they're no longer able to continue doing their business like a McDonald's because of the supply chain issues that have basically been shut off from Russia.
Exactly.
And so it's like, you're not kidding anybody.
Well,
I mean, this isn't like all of a sudden, like you've kind of, found Jesus and decided to be on the right side of this.
Sometimes I think part of it is his show. Look at the corporate structure. Okay, a lot of these entities are franchises.
Yep.
So what are they doing? They're just moving their corporate office.
Oh, and I'm sure these oligarchs are probably heavily invested in those McDonald's
sure.
franchises in Russia.
So it's a good visual for them.
Yeah.
I moved out of Russia. What did you move? You moved an office.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Because these little
they didn't have a
shops
choice.
are still open and running as usual.
Well, and they didn't have a choice, especially when, again,
Exactly.
their products are not locally sourced. They're getting stuff from all over the world. And so regardless, they were going to run out of products to sell because there's nothing coming in or out of Russia.
Exactly.
But anyhow.
I don't know. I understand where you're coming from, and I get it. Again, they're not doing it they're not doing it to benefit the people of Russia or to be with the people of Ukraine. They're doing it because they can't process payments anymore. Hence why there's no point of having the business anymore operated. I will say this: the news that the current administration is starting to go to our what was it saying I said earlier? The friend of our enemy is now our
don't
friend.
get ahead of it. Don't jump ahead in the topics. Oh my gosh, pull up the topics.
I'm sorry. When did McDonald's get part of the topic? I thought we entered in the topic.
Well, no, we were getting so friends in low places. All right.
Friends
Wait,
in
I
low
gotta
places.
get the angle right. Okay, I'm good now.
Oh my god. So yes, let's go ahead and talk about the fact that the Biden administration is now approaching, again, people that we have typically considered our enemies, be it political or otherwise, and now going into basically asking them to help supply us with the oil that the Russians were supplying us because of the EPA standards that he implemented here nationally and because of shutting down the Keystone Pipeline and all the other things that he did in year one.
Now Biden says that didn't hurt.
Yeah.
That had no effect
Right.
on the gas price.
Yeah, that's why the gas price started to rise immediately after
Exactly.
because that was an executive order. The Keystone Pipeline was
it was
day
an
one.
executive
Day
order.
one.
Yeah,
Yes.
Again, you keep on playing with the house's money. The house will eventually burn you.
That's
And
right.
him playing around with economic energy
Exactly.
policies is coming back to bite him in the rear. And now that's where we're at right now. And I love it. What's happening? It's going to suck for people they're already living paycheck to paycheck. They're already living below the poverty level because them having a car and gas, that's expensive.
How are senior citizens, when you're on a fixed income, how are they supposed to incorporate inflation, gas prices, medical needs? How are we supposed to absorb that?
right. Yeah, when even just the slightest increase in a medication, for instance,
Exactly.
throws your whole budget out of whack.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And then you've got, but the people that are not affected are the Bidens
Right.
and the upper echelon that can afford most anything at any time and have never been on a fixed budget.
yeah, and now we're 2 times over what gas was when he took office.
Exactly.
Exactly. And again, and you still have some senior citizens who are working, and
Yes.
rely and need to rely on that transportation to get them from A to B.
Exactly.
And again, and even still, I mean, we're coming off of a pandemic where people were forced to basically quit their jobs or lost their jobs because of a pandemic, and now you're putting them under even more debt because now
Because of
they
the
have incurred
inflation.
costs, of
That's
course.
right.
So they're coming in at an even higher disadvantage than they were before the pandemic.
Exactly. We're just getting to a point that we can start building again, and boom.
I mean, we forget because we were able to kind of get back up and running so quickly.
Yes.
I mean, everything shut down in
Floridians, yeah.
March, and then things started opening back up in May. But there are people that have still been locked down this whole time. There are cities and counties and that are just coming out of this.
Well, look at New York. What a mess New York
It's
is.
only been a few months since they released the mask requirements in New York City when it
Right.
came to eating
Exactly.
inside. Eating inside in December. Like, that wasn't even a thing this last 2 years. That's insane.
It still amazes me to drive down a street and see a person sitting in their car alone with a mask on.
Yeah.
I want to
that
get as far
recycled
away.
air.
I want to get as far away from them as I can.
Or our president walking along the front lawn by himself with a mask on.
Wait.
And-
Why
and
is
the
the
Secret
president walking
Service-
by himself?
No, and the Secret Service is telling him to go here, and he keeps walking over here.
I'm telling you, it's going to get worse before it gets better, because then the White House is saying they're getting angry because we have all these leases on land and everything else, and that people are not drilling in these places where they said they were going to drill. And people are like, why am I going to invest money during an administration that's already told me they don't want my industry to be a part of us anymore? So then what's the purpose of it? Oh, you're making too much money. I'm making too much money. I made no money.
No money.
What, a year ago or a year or two ago, when oil went down to negative $3 and no one talks. It's the give and take. And you can't expect people that have shareholders to be responsible for, their employees to be responsible for, their company's livelihood to be responsible for, and not expect them to say, look, I get it, you want me to drill more, or I get it, you want me to drill here, but you're telling me you're going to destroy my industry. So why am I going to invest billions into this?
Well, that's the big lie, because they want to say, oh, well, there's all these licenses out there to go out there and drill. Like, why aren't people going out there and drilling? Well, of course, it's all the environmental, bureaucracy that they've put in that, again, Trump rescinded, which is why we were producing. So they lie, basically, to continue to cover up their own lies.
Most of the small companies can't afford the EPA requirements, the mandates that the government has set on them because of the environmental.
Well, and that's why we're down to, especially in our agricultural industry, you're down to maybe a handful of major corporations that can actually afford to operate in that space because they can't keep up with the regulations. They've essentially eliminated the small farmer, thanks to these EPA regulations, thanks to, all this, all these scare tactics of climate change, and look, ideally, right? Do you want the earth to be healthy? Do you want the earth to, to continue to obviously have an extension of life as long as possible, right?
Yeah. Well, of course.
But the problem is that there are countries out there that are never going to adhere to any of this climate change policy. No. And they do, and they say, and they'll sign things, and they'll tell you what they want to hear, but they're never going to do it. India's never going to do it. China's never going to do it. Russia's never going to do it.
Nor should we expect them to. We had the luxury of industrializing over 200 years,
right?
Whereas some of these countries have had less than 30 years to do what needs to get done to be able to feed their own people. But it's the hypocrisy of Germany's a perfect example. They are getting off of nuclear. They're getting off of all of their power plants and everything else because they want to be green, even though they're building oil refinery plants to get oil out of Russia because it's the Russians that are producing the oil. We are not producing anything, so we don't have to worry about the credits. That's all bullshit at the end of the day. And it shows the hypocrisy of it. Like, they were showing what a pipeline looks like when it's completed, and then they show what a lithium mine looks like when it's completed.
Yes.
And those are just two different things.
Yep.
And your desire to put, again, yes, we should be good stewards of the planet, and we should be looking for ways to become energy independent and to reduce the cost. And we can, but we got it. Trump was all of the above. Everything. Why is that so difficult? Why do people get mad when you say all of the above? Well, because you're trying to kill the earth.
Exactly.
The majority of that State of the Union address was basically everything that Trump ran on in 2016.
Do you remember the State of the Union? I don't. There's nothing.
Well, I remember how similar it was to the Trump campaign.
We're going to cure cancer.
It was all about
go to the moon. Every president.
Well, it was about putting America first and bringing manufacturing back and being energy independent. And it's like, that's everything that Trump ran on. That's everything that Trump stood for and did in his administration. Hence
why the president had 2 rebuffs from the Democratic Party, because they didn't like what he was going to say, and they knew it.
But Nancy was sitting there.
Oh, what was that about?
My gosh.
That was weird.
Her greedy little self was like, this is,
Look like a lemur or some sort of.
I thought she was going to start a fire. That's what I thought she was doing.
Well, what was that about?
Start a fire.
Well, and then she also stood up at the randomest point in the speech, and
when you're that old, you have to make sure the blood is flowing. So you got to get up every once in a while.
She was going to jump over and kiss him there a couple of times. She was just like, oh yes.
So-
she could probably see dollar signs,
wait.
flowing in.
Oh,
her
yeah.
bank
So does
account.
Joe Biden do it for Nancy Pelosi?
I don't know what was going
Well,
on
it
there.
must, because she was sure. She was looking at him like, "Oh,
Nice,
Joe, you're
nice
looking
job
pretty
teeing it up
good."
there, Anibal.
I want to know what medication that man is on that makes
Cocaine.
him think it is logical to beg Iran for more oil.
Yeah.
His
Well, it's
oxygen
Iran.
tank is not on. That's the problem.
That's it.
They're talking to Venezuela, who again they have decimated their oil industry because they privatized it all.
They decimated the country.
and they have no idea how to run the oil industry.
True.
And so it makes no sense whatsoever. And the problem is because again, all these EPA standards, all this climate change policy, it's all a shell
Yes.
game. All they do is they move the pieces around so that they can get the numbers to where they like them, and everybody and the activists and everybody can hush, and then and they can move on and claim that they actually did something.
And Al Gore can collect his carbon credits.
That's right, from his private jet.
Yes, from his private jet in his mansion on the ocean front in California.
All right, don't forget, we are streaming live on Clubhouse as well. We've got a few people hanging out. One of them, of course, is our good friend Hector Gonzalez. We're gonna go ahead and bring Hector into the program. You there, Hector? Let me see. Do we got it? Is it working?
Did we lose Hector?
Yeah, I don't. Hold on a second. Let me see. Hector, you there? All right. All right, we'll see. Let me kind of work on that and we'll figure it out.
As Jonny continues to do with the technical stuff, I will say this. I think it's very amusing that we're entering a telenovela when it comes to the U.S. asking for something from Venezuela. Honestly, this is as easily as a Telemundo as it could get. Even if, the South Americans are, they will bite the spoon before they let any oil come out of there, just to make someone look like an idiot. Which is the same thing that Saudi Arabia and the UAE is doing. They're not picking up. The administration says that they never called the Saudi Arabia or the Emirates, but they probably did. They're calling everyone to figure out where to get these additional barrels.
Of course they
And again, how do you say that you're going to cut a Russian oil and not have a plan to replace the 8% of oil that we're going to be losing?
He didn't have a plan.
No, there was no
That's why he's
plan.
on his knees begging, people that say death to America.
I'm not going to say.
Can I buy oil from you?
Not going anywhere near that comment of what areas Biden is kneeing on.
No, jeez.
Well, if he is, he probably couldn't get up anyway. So.
Terry, if I get on my knees, I'm not getting up.
I get on my knees, I can't either.
Look at that, 203 panels. If we're on knees, there's a problem. I'm already down. I'm not getting up.
You two are perfectly situated there over at your table. Y'all are trouble. There's trouble over there.
Like minds over here.
Oh my God. Every time we do the HRAC meetings, Terry and I are not allowed to sit next to each other because we keep on making comments.
Oh, no. We get in trouble in that.
So it's like a choir.
That's right.
Row 7 on HREC. It's so
like
bad.
Black Church on
William
Sunday.
Beers coming over and leering at us.
Yeah, you can have Bill Beers to
He
toss you
literally
out.
will be standing behind us. We're like,
Oh my gosh.
yes. Do you want to see my papers?
Yeah.
I have an American citizen. I have a blue passport. He doesn't even believe
Don't
it.
get me started.
Terry and I have more stamps in our passports than he has teeth. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, I'd put my money on that. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching The Yard Sign, the most important and relevant podcast in politics. Your host, as always, Jonny Torres. Anibal, David Cabrera with me, as always, and our special guest today, Terry Castro from Patriots for America, one of our beloved activists here in Hillsborough County. And, of course, we're getting through the news of the day here. One of the issues that, I'm appeasing Anibal by even putting on the docket today, but it's certainly amusing nonetheless, is the final verdict and outcome of the Jussie Smollett trial.
You're not saying his name correct.
I'll leave that to you. Where he has obviously been convicted of a whole number of things, including perpetrating a hoax involving law enforcement, and he's going to be serving, is it 150 days in jail?
5 months.
Yeah, it sounds about right. But what was really bizarre was that at the end of the judge actually, I think, gave him an opportunity to speak, and he gets up and he goes on this rant about how he was innocent, which everybody knows he wasn't. You know, I mean, the evidence was pretty clear, and how it should not be expected that anything should happen to him in jail. That if anything happens to him in jail, he did not kill himself, and that he would not be hurting himself in any way, shape, or form.
He did not Epstein himself, is what he said. And he's not. So multiple times. Wow, multiple times. You could hear it on this.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Multiple times during the final parts of the trial, he kept on saying that he is not suicidal. He loves his life. He is not suicidal. I'm getting ready for the angle. There we go. He's not suicidal.
Blue steel.
And so because of that, it became a huge issue. So he's going to be in jail for 150 days and then 30 months of probation. He doesn't have to be in the city for the probation, but he does have to check in every single day. I am told that he's getting an organic meal set for his meals.
Oh, how nice.
And that the water will probably be Evian. So we'll see what happens and what goes on. I hope and pray that they just put him in isolation and that he just chills out and he has just some Jesus time for the next 6 months, because I don't know what else to tell you. I don't know what kind of prisons they are in Chicago. I can only imagine, hearing from all the criminal mind. And
it's not pretty.
It's not pretty.
It's not pretty. No.
So we'll see what happens. Do I think he'll enjoy prison? No. Do I think he will? You know what?
They're going to give him a hard time. I mean, they're going to give him a hard time, but he'll be protected. He'll be in an area he's not going to be in general population.
No.
He's in a psych ward right now in the jail site.
Of course. Anybody who's willing to.
He still says he's innocent.
Well, and anybody who's willing to put together what he put together, basically, to advance his career. I mean, again, you need therapy. You need years of therapy.
Now, do you think they'll create an Academy Award for his acting at the trial?
They should. I mean,
it was entertaining.
He almost pulled it off.
It was very
What
entertaining.
is that other award they give the Razzie for the worst actor?
Well, and again, it was one of these things where his trajectory was already on the way up. I mean, he was being looked at kind of one of the next big young actors,
Now,
and then he went in.
I had read that they were going to cut him from Empire.
There was the rumor, but again, I mean, overall, like his career was kind of going in the right direction.
I mean, look how young he is.
Right.
Young, handsome, successful. I mean, he had it all going for him.
Yeah, and again, but it's obviously an industry where, I think oftentimes, it's the desperation gets in the way, of ambition. Yeah. Well, there is some delusion because they all go to, New York, they all go to Hollywood.
That's true.
With the intent of being famous, with the goal of being famous.
I mean,
some of them, that's all they want is to be famous. They don't want to be actors.
No.
Acting is a byproduct. They just want to be famous.
They just want to be famous.
And I think that's probably what his issue was.
I mean, I
don't think he wanted to be an actor. I think he just wanted to be famous.
You have to be a little delusional to think that it's mega country in the middle of Chicago, like downtown Chicago.
In downtown Chicago?
Yeah.
Like how many white people do you know in downtown Chicago wearing mega hats?
In the middle of a snowstorm.
At 2 o'clock in the morning.
At 2 o'clock in the morning.
Outside the subway.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the subway thing.
Well, and the fact that you couldn't have, again, if you're in television, if you're in the film industry, you would think that he would have done better casting. I mean, because
exactly.
I mean, he cast 2 Nigerians to play white supremacists. I mean,
where is our poor little Mighty Duck? I don't know what happened to him. He was so precious.
Was he in Mighty Ducks?
He was in Mighty Ducks.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Thank you, Devon. Yes, he was. Thank you, Devon, for giving us that information. He was in Mighty Duck. Huh?
It's probably Devon.
Devin?
I don't think it's Devon.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've known this person for
Don't
almost
count
20
it
years.
out.
Oh,
So I
okay.
know exactly
all right.
Jose's name.
Just-
Do you even know the name of the person I'm talking about?
No, it just
then you're
I
trying
don't
to
know.
correct
I've never
me.
met a Devon.
You know
I've met
what?
a Devin.
There's just things
met many
that need to
Devons.
happen in these organizations of prepping and everything else. And the fact that I can see the oh, hi, Hector. So Jussie Smollett
Yeah.
can only be explained with one word, sociopath.
I'm trying to get a Hector on the show here. I don't know what's going on.
Hector,
over
just
here.
show up in the... Just
He's
show
in the clubhouse thing, but for some reason we can't get his audio, and so I got to keep tooling around with this.
Poor
thing
little
to figure
Tink
it out.
Tink.
It's just
All right.
amazing that the links that some people will go to for glory, for fame,
Yeah.
or to enhance, I mean,
Well, I mean, we've seen people.
Yeah, I was
with-
about to say, Terry, we know politicians that have gone way beyond.
way over.
Way
Yeah.
beyond.
well, we've seen arranged marriages.
Except-
we've seen.
I wasn't going to go there. Beards?
God.
What?
Yeah, we've. I
We
mean,
almost
name
attended that wedding.
changes,
Name yeah.
Address
A lot of
changes.
changes.
Accepting
Yeah.
checks.
You should
hypothetical.
say nothing will ever surprise you, but somehow somebody comes up with something
Scoot up a
new
little bit more. Get a little closer to the mic.
that does surprise you.
Yeah,
People want to hear from you.
that's
Oh,
right.
thank you, dear. I know they do.
Oh, someone is not bashful.
I mean, we had kind of a similar situation here, although it was true. But I think they took the true part of it and then kind of stretched it out a little bit too far. With the Russian hitmen, who were out to kill candidates in a primary and et cetera, et cetera.
There's a
And
contract out on me.
there we go.
Okay, me.
Oh. Wow.
Wow.
I almost want to go down that road. I think I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to
No.
leave it alone.
Not
No,
going
we
that.
don't.
We have not signed the NDRs that
Yeah.
are necessary for that conversation.
All right. Big shout out to Community Patriots, also now a team member of this show. They are, they are going to be coming on board as a sponsor, and we're going to be helping them to build that organization as well, especially as we get ready for the midterm elections here. So be on the lookout for more information on Community Patriots coming up. We have we're going to be integrating with them, and not only in promoting all the different events and opportunities that they have for you to get involved, but also we'll be having some of them on the show, and we'll also be integrating with them even in some live events and that sort of thing going forward. So excited for that. Hopefully we'll be rolling that out officially next week. In the meantime, let's go ahead and keep the show moving along as we get back into more of a serious topic here as we bring it back to our lovely state of Florida. The Florida legislative session just ended literally today. I think they're still kind of tying up some loose ends with the budget, but all in all, policy wise, legislatively, it seems like we're all done. Of course, everybody's still all up in arms over the bill and they've done such a good job at just destroying it in reputation that I can't even tell you what the bill's actually called. But the one they call the "Don't Say Gay" bill, which again has nothing to do with that
I don't
whatsoever.
even know the official name of it yet.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
Yeah.
or Hector will tell us.
The
it up,
bill is
yeah.
basically just to make sure that you're not talking about sexual orientation while you're in elementary school.
Exactly.
Like, when did that become a thing that children are supposed to start taking sex ed classes before they're in
Exactly.
sixth grade? This doesn't make any sense.
Well, and the argument-
every study tells you that really those conversations and changes, if you want to go through that change, need to happen after you're finishing developing.
Well, and this is the excuse, right? Because we've seen people that are against this bill say, "Well, this isn't even an issue. This hasn't even happened. There hasn't even been an issue. This isn't something that requires legislation because there haven't been any incidents of this take place." And I go, "Well,
planet are
first of
they
all,
from?
do we have to wait for something to
Exactly.
happen before we address it?"
Exactly.
First of all, second of all,
exactly.
remember, in terms of real sex ed, I remember Anibal and I, because Anibal's a little bit younger than mine, but I remember when even teaching sex ed in high school became a major issue.
When
Because
I was in high school, they didn't even use the word sex.
right, exactly. And so it started off as that they were just going to they were just going to cover.
I don't feel comfortable with having this conversation with practically my abuela. I don't feel comfortable. I am very uncomfortable.
But it started out like a health and science,
Exactly,
type of,
exactly.
you know.
You know, before
There was solar.
It was just learning about your body,
Yeah.
you know. And then, the pictures in the books were like, oh my
Right.
goodness. You know,
And then it started to evolve,
A
and
very
it be-
sheltered subject,
Yeah.
as it should have been,
Right.
because that is the subject that should come from the home.
Exactly.
You know, not the teacher, not the school. Not,
Well, and my
you know.
point, it was that, when I was in high school,
When were you in high school, Jonathan?
about 24 years ago.
Thank you.
It was already starting to get into some of the more sexual, elements of intercourse,
Yes.
in terms of, it was no longer about science and health and that sort of
No.
thing. And now they're even teaching it in some districts as young as middle school.
Yes, and some of the materials in the school is very graphic.
And don't get me wrong, there's Anibal over here is trying to keep it together. Don't get me wrong. Yes, are kids becoming more sexually aggressive or experimental at a younger age? And I think, well, statistically, yes,
Yes.
right? But I think that's also because of what they've been exposed to in terms of media and what's out there,
Yes.
Especially on social media. And so it's only inevitable that they're going to want to push this into elementary schools.
Exactly.
And that's what I think this addresses. And as you said, both even at the high school level, I think there are elements of this this conversation. There are elements of this topic, of this issue that should be discussed at home,
Exactly.
with parents,
Exactly.
with family members, not with a teacher in
the
on
clergy.
school grounds,
Exactly.
with the clergy.
And if a child has a question about any area of sexual conduct or anything, take him to your doctor.
Right, sure,
Let them clinically explain what goes on, what could happen. The ramifications.
right.
You can talk about it peripherally, and you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, because hey.
Well, that was the
pregnancy and
thing.
all that,
When I was
but-
in high school, they got into, because the big debate was, well, do you teach abstinence or do you teach, or do you
Yes.
teach protected sex?
Intercourse.
Exactly.
And so again, this is it's never all at once. Especially with
It's
liberal
gradually-
policy, it's
things
always been
get-
incremental.
It seems like as time goes and the liberals kind of seep in more, it gets to be a broader topic.
Yeah.
Introduce a little here, a little
Sure.
there. Then it becomes commonplace. Oh, well, we've had this in the school for forever.
Well, like the drag queens, reading to
Exactly.
elementary school children.
Reading to kindergartners.
Yeah, go and try to explain that to us, to a
Kindergartners
6-year-old.
saying, "Gee, you're pretty." What do they know?
I know that we need to be able to spend more time on things that are actually educational for the children, not just discussing besides the two genders, but the other 4,700 genders that have now been assigned to the school curriculum. So I'm very glad that we had this larger conversation about sex ed and in Florida politics. But other things that were discussed for the end of session was a session on solar. The sole win was Ron DeSantis. This is from Hector. Think about it. No breakout stars from either chambers. Nobody. No one brought up with their brand because of what session was the purpose of. Ron DeSantis is definitely the winner of that. The budget that expected to come out of session was $112 billion. That's huge for the state with low taxes. So a lot of things did pretty well when it came to the session coming out of it. So I'm pretty happy about what happened. Also, the last minute pocket veto that came out with the governor about the congressional districts for Hillsborough County and
Yes.
Jacksonville area. So it was pretty intense what happened at the end of session. So I'm glad to see what happened. I'm not crazy that they spend a few more days. I don't really care that they spend a few more days. I mean, we've had sessions where they've gone weeks.
They've gone, yes.
And it just becomes
Way
a
over.
nightmare. So it's good that everyone gets to come back home and they get to pretend that they actually do something important.
I just wished he would sign the redistricting, get it off his desk so these candidates can finally file and start their campaigns.
Well, a lot of these candidates come to you to kiss the ring. Isn't that what that's what I hear?
Are you kidding me?
Well, no, I mean,
We only do that in private.
to an extent. But
There's
to
a
an
whole
We do-
there's
we
a
do that,
ceremony.
yeah. There's,
They give her
the
a new
blessing of
brooch.
yeah, of course.
It's
of
during
course.
Gasparilla.
Well,
so.
Yeah.
to an extent, they do because they realize that if they are able to align themselves with you and earn your support, it's beyond simply being a Republican. That you are going to help them in terms of finding more volunteers to,
Absolutely. Yes.
maybe giving them a little bit more exposure, maybe communicating with them more often on where they need to be, what they need to be doing.
And exposure is 3/4 of the thing. If they can
Oh, yeah.
get themselves out in front of the clubs and as many of the grassroots as possible, that's
how
all
it works.
part of it. Yes.
I think people forget how. I don't want to say it's simple, but it really is that simple. Your job as a
is.
candidate is to go out and meet the people.
It is.
Go to those groups, go to those meetings, go to the events. So when a candidate comes to me and is like, oh, I don't know where to go, there's a plethora of things. There are meetings happening every single week. There are events. There are
Exactly.
even non-political events that you should be going to and attending just so that you're there. And then and we've talked about this, the biggest pet peeve. You only show up when you're running.
Yes.
That is a huge pet peeve for a lot of people.
And that is, at the REC meetings, they only show up when they're running.
Well, nowadays, because
And
of the
a lot of
REC,
this.
none of them, they don't show up at all.
Now, why would they?
I mean, the candidates show up because they don't know any better.
Well, when you're given 4 minutes to speak,
Well, and even still,
know,
they don't
and
realize
they-
how toxic the
and
room
like
is.
how much work can that room actually do now?
I mean, we could do a whole show on just the REC, but
I
mean,
want
we could
to
do
run.
3 shows
See,
on
this is
the
the thing. I want to run this bus over a cliff.
Yeah.
Regardless, I will be in the front row with
well,
Terry.
for those listening, the REC is the Republican Executive Committee, which is essentially the county representation of the Republican Party.
The dumpster fire of Hillsborough County.
Yeah. Which apparently, well, I'm not, okay. I'm
well,
not
I mean,
even gonna-
when you come up
Wait,
with 3,
you're not a member yet. You got to be careful.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But when you come up with 3 consecutive losing election cycles,
No, that's all fake news, according to the chairman.
I mean,
We've been a Blue County our entire lives.
don't tell me you guys have drank the Kool-Aid, please. I'm out of here.
What are you literally
No, we're
thinking he's
just,
drinking
we're
right
just
now?
teeing it up for you, Terry. We're just teeing it up for you.
No, I tell you that it's just amazing to me that they never read the fine print on what their job description was.
All right, real quick on the Florida legislature's wrapping up today. This is from the Florida House majority, of course, the Republican Party. These are the bullet points they put out today in terms of what they're celebrating in this year's balanced budget. Budgeted reserves are up to $8.9 billion.
Good job, boys.
Which is great. It's 22.8% of the general revenue estimate. $1 billion to address inflation. That's the gas tax that we're going to see in October, which I thought very smartly. So they've postponed it to October. They said so that more Floridians versus tourists could benefit from the gas tax.
Exactly.
And so I guess statistically, October, I guess, is kind of the dead month. In regards to tourism.
Yeah.
So no, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I'm
Takes me
just
20 minutes to get to Treasure Island.
That's right.
No, but really, we have a.
You're not stuck in the roundabout in Clearwater.
Exactly.
Every time that bridge goes up.
170 million to improve Florida's cybersecurity. I mean, that's a real issue.
Russians.
All right, let's see. Nursing, I like this one. Nursing recruitment to address staffing shortages, 125 million.
Good.
Now, some of that, of course, I also put at the feet of the hospitals and medical organizations that fired nurses because they refused to get the vaccine.
Yeah.
I mean, but nationally, there have been thousands of nurses that have been fired.
Exactly.
So nurses, please come to Florida. Just like a lot of police officers have been moving to Florida too.
Exactly.
Which is great because we're getting their best and brightest, right?
Exactly. We are.
Let's see. Most ever K through 12. This one appeals to the audience
The
here.
majority of the audience
To the
in
peanut
room.
gallery. Most ever K through 12 student funding at $8,142.85 per pupil.
Oh, wait, not to the teachers then. Okay.
No, that's for the people.
Okay, never mind.
Per pupil.
Although raises for state workers, I don't know if that includes teachers or not, but
Some days it doesn't.
raises for state workers, $664 million. This one's an interesting one, $74 million to address the fatherhood crisis.
What?
Yeah, that's that we're gonna have to kind of look into a little bit more and
sounds a
kind
little
of
progressive.
deconstruct that one. Well, it's not only progressive, but how does money really solve that problem?
I was just going to think, how did they? It just makes them more.
Yeah,
Big brother, big sister.
I mean, there's a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of ways. I mean, you're talking about, okay, you know, you've got those that, especially in minority communities where fathers do become incarcerated, and then you have others where maybe there's programs to try to keep families together, you know, and try to reduce the divorce rate.
You know,
there's
and
that.
you don't mind if it's used for something like that.
Yeah.
Like the government.
But 9 times out of 10,
it's
But again, the government's just not good at that sort of thing.
no, they're not good at that sort of thing.
Hector is saying that one of the big things that was not discussed was the resolution this time around was property insurance. It's becoming a really big issue. And I think nothing
Exactly.
came.
A lot of
from
insurers have been pulling out of the state.
No one has I think there was no additional discussion about Seaside, the condo that collapsed in the South Florida.
Yeah, down in
area.
Miami.
And
yeah.
so I don't think anything has come up from that either. So I'm a little surprised.
Well, the problem is this. Okay, with that kind of issue, we get into the situation where they want to do something so they can just seem like they did something.
Yeah.
Okay. When in reality, that building was so old that again, I don't think that there were any. There's nothing they could have done differently to prevent that from having happened.
Yeah.
No.
You know, that building knew
knew.
that they had these structural problems. They were
I see.
they were already starting to address some of these structural problems. Their problem was the funding to actually put towards these structural problems.
Actually get the job.
You know, sure. And you know, I have a little bit of experience when it comes to condominium associations and again, those condominium associations are largely made up of people who are not qualified to make the decisions that
No,
they
they're
make.
not.
No, they're not.
They don't realize they don't know how to manage the finances, you know, for that large of an organization because you know these, especially in condos, it's millions of dollars a year.
Your average association is just your ad hoc citizens.
Right,
you
exactly.
know. I mean,
And-
I'm not a structural engineer.
Sure, right,
Somebody
exactly.
could tell me this is, you know, built by code, and I'd say, oh, okay,
Well, and oftentimes they're budgeting to whatever the next problem is.
exactly.
Yeah, and they're not really setting aside reserves for these major structural issues.
I think that might need to be the bigger conversation is that these associations need to be required under law to put money into the reserves. Because
That's a good
we
point.
know people that are dealing with their associations right now that we know that there's nothing in the reserve.
Right.
Nothing after 30 years of that we've been in that building. There's still nothing.
Right.
And that is something that I think by law there needs to be some kind of bill, and that might be a larger conversation that we have with
Some sort of a financial
reps.
auditing
Yes.
type of situation.
Especially
yeah.
if you've got buildings that were not built according to the latest codes.
Oh yeah, I mean the stuff that
You
were
know,
that were
you're
built in
older.
the 70s and
Exactly.
are nowhere near compared to where they are
No.
at code right now.
Now again here, 363 million. This is maybe, in my opinion, possibly the biggest boondoggle. Because there's only really so much you can do about affordable housing, but $363 million to put towards affordable housing programs.
But what does that mean? Are they going to
you
build
know, I was
housing,
gonna
or
ask
are they
the
just
same
going to
question. Well,
give someone a check?
That's the problem. I mean, to an extent, they dole this money out. It's kind of like the federal government. They hand the county a check and say, "Here's your affordable housing money." And I'm sure there's some parameters that they have to meet. But again, you know, some of these affordable housing projects are just as poorly run, if not worse,
Correct.
off,
Yes.
you know, than some of the most terrible slums you've seen anywhere.
We need more housing in Hillsborough County alone. We need more housing.
Yeah, the problem has been the cities and the counties restricting how much the
Exactly.
builders can build.
Yeah. I don't know,
And
especially in when it comes to downtown Tampa, that downtown core. Why aren't you allowing them to build as high as possible? Because from what I understand, there isn't a pathway over downtown at the moment when it comes to the airport. I know they go around the port to get to the night airport, and then there's the base goes to the water as well. But I don't know why they're not allowing them to go as high as possible so that we're able to have more affordable housing. It's just, or require these massive construction sites to offer 5%, 10% for affordable housing.
Well, and then again,
Exactly.
these Democrats that have been elected, you know, Bob Buckhorn, now Jane Castor, you know, came in, raised hundreds, if not thousands, of affordable housing projects
Yes.
with no actual plan to replace them.
Exactly.
what? Are you telling me Project Village? I mean, all the other ones that were raised, shocked, absolutely shocked.
Well, and again,
and they've been empty for years.
Yeah, and if they're not the perfect example at how the government really doesn't do anything very well, I mean, they let them fall into disrepair. They let them fall into these horrible living conditions.
And they don't go into repair or refurbish. Oh, we've got to tear it down, start all over.
Right, yeah.
We need a brand new housing section.
So 20 years from now, when those people that used to, but we'll bring them back. We'll bring everyone back from that. But yeah, it's been 15 years.
No, meanwhile, what they're
moved on?
And what they're doing now is they're just cashing in because they know that all that land close to the river is incredibly valuable now.
Of course.
Oh, if there is not a scandal, and there's already one, so we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
But if there is not a scandal in a few years about how quickly that stuff got moved, the apartments across the street from UT and from Tampa Prep.
Yep.
That area, that neighborhood, which is low income, is getting updated and purchased very quickly.
A lot of the areas.
A lot of the places across from.
Well, and again, the
Blake.
city is doing nothing to replace that housing.
No.
And so what happens is those people that end up having to move further out into more rural parts of the district of the county.
And causes other problems because, again, that was a community. The community was able to police itself, kind of put itself in check. You were able to leave your kids with grandma because she lived down the street. Now you don't have that anymore. Again, these communities were there for years, and instead of demolishing one, rebuilding, demolishing another, rebuilding, they take the entire 30 blocks and tear it all down.
Not
and
only
they don't
that,
give anything for the people.
There's no program in place to encourage or facilitate that these people eventually move into a home that they can purchase. You know, they should take a percentage of whatever these people are paying towards this affordable housing and saying, we're going to put this aside for you into an escrow account so that you can have, you know, a 10%, make it a 20% deposit on a home. But guess what? At some point, you're going to hit that 20% and you can go ahead and purchase a home. That's life-changing.
Have we solved affordable housing?
Oh, man.
Look, there are all kind of innovative programs that you can put into place to help people get their first home. Maybe an apartment, maybe set aside.
Oh no, there's tons of like loans, 0% interest loans for first time home buyers and things like that. You know, but again, there's the problem is that in most of these communities, it's a lack of financial literacy.
It is, and it's a lack of planning on the council's part, the government's part, for having someone that can come up with some kind of innovative programs to help those that can't afford a brand new 1-bedroom apartment now is $1,600.
At least
easy.
Easy, depending on the part of town, but sure,
You know, I couldn't afford that now.
Right. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, and you look at where some of these like newer projects is. I mean, you look at these apartments that are literally butting right up against I-4, you know, in Ybor City. Okay, which is still, love hanging out in Ybor, but it's still not the nicest part of town.
Exactly.
You know, and those 1-bedrooms are going for $2,000. Oh my
gosh. But yet, Hector made this very clear. Julie B. Lane used to be an entire neighborhood of apartment buildings.
The park?
Yeah, where the park is now.
I'm sure it is.
And again, that's what people forget. It's been so long. And the government loves doing that. And again, I'm not saying they're doing it on purpose, but I'm saying this is the ramification for poor planning. If you're not going to build as you're developing, then I don't know what the purpose is. And I get it. It costs more, but you're the government. That's the purpose of it.
Right.
The goal is not to destroy neighborhoods.
Urban development.
But you're perfectly fine destroying 275 North to recombine Seminole Heights without the highway. Are you crazy?
Oh, that's such a ludicrous idea.
Don't get me started with this.
My
Don't
gosh.
get me started. Put it in a bike lane on MLK, going to St. Joseph's Hospital. Have you lost your mind? I go through there every single angle, every single day. Thank you, Madam Producer.
Well,
and they're thinking of getting rid of a lane both ways, adding a middle lane and bike lanes. And I get yelled at because I don't know what I'm talking about. You're going to do that in a business day, one house on that side of the
river. Not only that, nobody's using these bike lanes.
No one.
Nobody uses the Pinellas Trail.
Yeah.
You drive miles down the Suncoast.
It's purty.
There's nobody there.
Right. It's purty.
You know. I mean,
there's a big fence.
Well, yeah, and it was money in somebody's pocket. I can assure you that.
I'm telling you.
Someone got paid, allegedly.
Yeah.
But and again, to top it off, as we kind of move into our next topic, one of the
We
dumbest.
get one more topic?
I think one of the dumbest decisions that the city council has made is reinstituting paid parking in Ybor City.
Oh my God.
I mean, just as
Today.
Yeah, it starts today, and so there's no longer 2-hour free parking in Ybor City. Just as Ybor is starting to kind of
Just
find
come
itself
back.
again.
I know, come back.
come back with all these amazing
Do you
restaurants.
hear the
and-
excuse? They're like, oh, we want people to have a chance to get parking. This will alleviate parking. That's 40 parking spots of the 1,000 parking spots that are available in
Right.
Ybor City. And you're upset with 40 parking
If you were
spots?
kicking
Exactly.
people out of there every 2 hours, then there's still plenty of parking.
Ain't no one doing anything like that. I haven't seen
And
one
what are-
car ever towed.
and
in
what
Ybor
are the
City on those
parking
40
garages
I've
spots.
never
for?
seen a car
I never
towed.
seen
Then what are those parking garages on the bookends for?
Exactly.
on one bookend.
Oh, well, that's true. It's on one end.
If they were to build, and that's the thing. If they would organize themselves and build another parking garage on the other side of Ybor City,
Yeah.
by the Columbia,
Right.
then it might be something else. But they ain't gonna do that.
No, they won't even put lights down that street. I mean, you want to talk about scary. Go past 21st and 22nd.
I've never.
That's true.
I don't know that I've ever gone past 21st and 22nd.
I stop at the Columbia. I might do
Yeah.
a UE,
Right.
passing the Columbia, but I don't think I've ever done the.
we were looking for a building to buy when we had our business,
Mm-hmm.
and we looked at a couple in Ybor City. They said, "Oh, this is the place to be."
Yeah.
Renovate these.
Yeah, on
As I've
renovate.
said for the past 20 years. Yeah.
Yeah, renovate. I mean, that was a matter of tearing down, starting again. I mean, these
Right.
buildings, no, it just would not.
Well, and that's
not
where,
feasible at all.
and as a side note, I mean, I think you got to give a lot of credit to the Gonsmarts.
Yes.
Who continue to invest in Ybor City, and not only, obviously continue to operate the Columbia, but also,
Yes.
now have Casa Stefano,
That's true.
which is a beautiful building,
great
gorgeous restaurant. And again, it was a building that was restored, and we're seeing others follow suit.
And
you
if
see,
you have the money to do it, I think that's
it.
wonderful.
Yeah.
The big cigar factories there.
Oh, yeah.
If you have the money to do that and restore part of the history of
Right.
that area, I think that's wonderful.
what's
But
crazy
you're-
is that the Oliva one that's all in
Yes.
white. Gorgeous job they did on fixing that.
Oh, yeah.
But have you seen the prices to live there?
Oh, it's so expensive. I have a cousin that actually lives there. And
Lewis.
it's amazing
Shout out to
what
Lewis
they've done
Lara.
down there. But
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, what people are forgetting is that we are going to be in walking distance to a baseball park. So I'm perfectly happy what's about to happen in Ybor City
here
and
we
the
go.
corruption that seems there. Yes,
Exactly.
Madam Producer, I will be wrapping this up, even though I
Yeah.
have one more thing. So we could talk about
No,
it
and
at the end.
Anibal wants the little trolley to come and ding, ding, ding right in front of his house.
one more-
Pick him up and take him over
yes,
here.
if
Yeah.
I'm paying for mass transit, I want to stop at the end of my
Anibal
street.
thinks he's
And
Mr.
you
Rogers
won't-
over here.
They won't
Ring your
even give me
doorbell
a
and
sign. They won't even give me a street sign. I have to beg for that street sign. They haven't even put it in yet.
Yeah, Anibal's like Mr. Rogers over here. He's like ding, 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 ding. Right.
If you're
into
not
his
going to
living
pay for
room.
my gas, you better get me a trolley stop. I want a trolley stop from my area to the new baseball field.
All right, as we've brought our show to our most local topic of the day, we'll go ahead and jump into that as big news came out this week. Not this week, sorry, end of last week, because again, that's how they like to bury these stories. Longtime Tampa City councilman / politician / businessman John Dingfelder is retiring or resigning. Sorry.
Resigning.
He
Yes.
wishes he were retiring right about now. I mean, the guy's always, I have a very good sixth sense about people, and I've always kind of kept my distance, and I've just never felt comfortable around him. Always just kind of came off as the wrong type of person to have in
he
office.
didn't know I spoke English. Like that's how I felt.
I wouldn't be
The few
surprised.
times honestly, I've seen him. I've known him. We've interacted. I don't think he knew I knew.
Was his hola a little too enthusiastic?
It was too of a hard.
I mean, this
of a
is
lie.
someone who had served in office before, got run out of office previously.
Yes.
And then, just like this dang coronavirus, just wouldn't go away.
Wouldn't go, it keeps coming back
Yeah, it keeps
for
coming
more.
back. And again, much like a certain county commissioner that we do not speak of, just finally it all caught up with him and decided to resign as as he should in this situation. I mean, we're. It's not it's not 30 years ago anymore.
No,
Can't,
it's not.
They can't get away with this kind of stuff that they used to get away with. There's too much transparency. There's too much information out there. There's too much access to this information.
Exactly.
If Tampa was a small city 10, 30 years ago, it is even smaller now. With everyone knowing everyone having connections,
Sure.
TVs, everything else. You can't get into a scuffle outside
Exactly.
of city Tampa chambers
Exactly.
and not expect for there to be a lawsuit or a conversation about
And
that. Can't
why?
happen anymore.
Why do they still think that they can do the things that they want to do and get away with it?
Because they think
that
Tampa's a small
nobody's
town.
going to notice.
And the smaller it gets, the worse it gets. Because people really think they can get away with these kind of things.
It's amazing to me that they still persist in doing the same old things. Oh, but nobody's going to know.
No one's gonna know.
No,
one's gonna know.
nobody's going to know.
But I use my wife's email. No one's gonna know.
Yeah.
Literally. that's
Everything's in my wife's name. Who
That's
cares?
exactly what happened. Well, everything is in my wife's name.
That's good.
Thank you. I learned from
Everything
the best.
is in my name too.
I learned from the best, Terry.
Yeah.
Thank you
I
for
mean, my husband's a retired captain in the Marine Corps, but I'm the commander in chief.
Wow. Man, love it.
And this is why I sit next to Terry at the HRC meetings.
I always outrank him.
You're a colonel standing up there, but I'm a commander in chief.
Love it.
No, so yeah, you can't get
I'm glad
into
he's not watching.
Even if he were, he wouldn't say anything.
like our governor. He fell asleep about 2 hours. Like our president,
No,
he
like
fell
our
asleep a few
RNC
hours.
chairman.
I'm sorry.
Oh gosh.
I'm sorry, Daddy DeSantis.
Real quick, so let's jump into the actual story. We found it first over here at floridapolitics.com. Shout out to Peter Schorsch for his team covering this. So John Dingfelder resigning from Tampa City Council, actually acknowledging that it was first reported by the Tampa Bay Business Journal, which paywall, you guys not happy about that.
Oh, I cannot stand that paywall.
Look, I love Ian. He's an amazing publisher.
You gotta
But
make money. I get it. You gotta make money.
Resignation was part of a settlement reached Friday between Dingfelder and Stephen Michelini, a local development consultant, in response to a public records lawsuit. As again, transparency and access to information. As part of the settlement, Dingfelder also wrote a letter of apology to Michelini. Florida Politics was sent a copy. The lawsuit was always about holding someone accountable, even though Michelini's lawyer said. That's it, plain and simple. He's been through a lot, and we're thankful that Mr. Dingfelder finally did the right thing by apologizing and stepping aside as a public official. Basically, what happened was last October, there had been another lawsuit filed against Dingfelder accusing the council member of intimidation and improper communication of public information, according to documents filed in Hillsborough County Court. In the filing, Michelini accused Dingfelder of using his wife's email account to conduct public big business, big no-no, and intimidating Michelini when he made public requests for those emails. It goes into, again, everybody else who's involved here. But again, this is a guy who the time has passed him. This was the time before the sunshine laws. This was before, again, you could have, multiple email addresses as a way of communication. This was the worst kind of person that, we always spoke of, back in the days, having the backroom deals, in the smoke-filled rooms and those kind of things. People like him need to go, and there's plenty more of them. And generationally, we just need to move on from these guys.
We're just not in.
The city of Tampa has always been one of the hardest. And when we had our business, trying to sell to the city of Tampa was a nightmare. Just breaking in, the minutia that you had to go through, and then all for nothing, because they have their own little cadre that they're,
Because they are, and again, it's still happening today.
Yes.
I won't name names because I don't have the evidence in front of me, but it happens still. People are getting certain contracts. People are getting certain preferences.
Exactly.
Things are still happening, and it's becoming frustrating to a lot of people, and
Yes.
that just needs to stop. And that's the bigger problem with this is that the sunshine laws were going to show a bigger
Exactly.
issue when it came to
Exactly.
development, when it came to South Tampa developments, and until people understand that we need more housing. I'm not asking for a 30-story tower in the middle of South Tampa, south of Gandy. That's not what I'm asking for. I'm asking for if there's a large piece of land and we need to develop, let's develop properly and smartly. Don't just kill it and then we just sit on empty land for the next 20 years. It
Yes.
causes such a big problem, and people don't like that. And now with all these new people moving into the city that have no idea what's going on, they
I
probably
just
won't
can't
even
imagine.
vote. That it's just becoming more and more of an issue, because then the circle becomes smaller and smaller because these people aren't paying attention. They're going to meet.
No.
They're going to the meat factory, all these other places to go party and have a good time in Soho,
Exactly.
and they don't care about what's really the minutia. They don't go to their HOAs. They don't go to their association meetings.
But you'll know that we've
Yeah.
truly turned the page as a city and as a county when we get this kind of old batch of elected officials out the door.
Out the door.
You know,
Yes.
because again, these guys have been in there and they play the carousel game.
Yes.
I'm hearing about Charlie Miranda. Look, everybody loves Charlie. I get it, okay, but the guy's been in there way too long.
Yeah.
way too long. Charlie and Dingfeller have been in some form of city government since I've been here.
This
And
is
that's
Dunfeld.
40
I think this
years.
is his second time
Yes.
on the city council, or maybe third time on the city council, because he was in there in the 90s,
Exactly.
and then in the early 2000s, and now again in the
Yes.
20s. So it's
They
it's
were both
sickening.
prominent names when I first
Yes.
got here,
Right.
and they still are.
Well, and that was the thing. Like, I remember when I first moved here and then, started finally kind of getting a grasp of who's who, in politically.
Yes.
And I remember it was time for the mayoral elections, and 3 of the 4 candidates had already been mayor. And I'm like, really?
Exactly.
I was like, is this the best that
Exactly.
Tampa has to offer?
Yes.
And I mean, we got Buckhorn, and he was what he was. I mean, but at least it was a new face, and at least, some new ideas and a new perspective. Because again, how can you move forward with the same old
Exactly.
names just kind of recycled year after year?
The Tampa city politics is just a whole nother beast unto itself. They don't even have elections in November. They have elections in March. It causes a huge issue.
But that's intentional.
And of course it's intentional. And that's the point. Everyone's already exhausted and it's not even a presidential election cycle. It's a midterm
It's a
president.
Well, and that's
Yeah.
because they know that because if you hold it out of sync with the other elections, you're going to get the old Tampa people to come out and
Exactly.
vote for
Exactly.
their
I
people.
think there's one or two
Exactly.
seats that you only need like 20,000 votes and you become a city council member, Guido. And so,
Yeah.
again,
Well, what's disappointing,
I'm over
actually,
it.
now that you mentioned, Guido, and I'll throw out Citro, Joe Citro, is that these guys, we knew where they came from. We knew that, these guys were Republican. It's no secret.
That's true.
And then all of a sudden, they just go like almost
Way
it's like they're trying to overcompensate
Exactly.
for the fact that they used to be Republican. They're trying to earn their credentials
they're
as
apologizing.
Democrats.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry, I was a Republican, but I'm not anymore.
Oh, that's what I hated about Strass. Strass just always apologized for being a
Exactly.
Republican.
He
Don't
did.
apologize. Just be who you are. No one's going to care. You're going to lose anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Because you don't hear the Dems apologizing.
Never. They never apologize.
Now, what I am excited about, and I don't think I need to keep it a secret, but DC Gatufas, who ran for
Yeah.
property appraiser, almost won, really.
Almost won.
For kind of race that nobody was paying attention to,
And nobody knew his name prior to him filing.
I mean, he's been in the community for
Yeah.
a long time,
Yeah.
but he's not. He's much. I think he's much more well known now than he was then.
Correct.
He is.
He's much more active in the community. He's much more visible.
He stayed active
Yes.
even when he lost.
That's right.
Even when he lost, he did.
What
Yeah.
kind of concept is that?
No, look, and props to Tim, Tim Northcutt, who's been kind of his advisor
Yeah.
through all of this. And I remember telling them, it's that stupid alarm again. Hold on.
No, DC has been around to more functions and more things, the same as he did when he was running for office.
Yes.
And to his credit, it has paid off because again his visibility, and he's such a likable guy.
He's a very much
he's
likable guy.
Very nice gentleman.
and his heart's in the right place. This is the city. This is the city where he's born and raised, I believe, where he has, at least has been raised, and
I think he is. Tampa.
I think he is.
And he has such a passion for the community and for the city, and he wants to do it for the right reasons. And look, I mean, I think he can. I can think he could walk into this seat very easily.
It just depends what they're going to do, because if I think what's going to happen is I'm reading the comments. I think what's going to happen is they're going to pick who the replacement's going to be, and then that person will be on the ballot in March.
Do they pick who the replacement is,
have
or
to
have to have a special election?
No, they're going to vote on, because it's less than a year out.
Okay.
So they're going to vote who's going to get in for that 7th seat, and then that person will be on
They're a
the
placeholder.
ballot. Yeah. Normally they say they're not going to run, and they always run.
Oh, they always
That's
run.
something that people need to be aware of. Yeah. Also, this turns a 7-seat a city council to a 6 seat, and we have the vote for the Tampa police head coming up. And that's going to be voted on the 6th.
That's going to be huge.
So that's going to be, I think that might
That's
be
been problematic because people are not very happy with who the mayor's chosen.
Well, you can't assault a police officer and then expect to be the head of the police department. I mean, I'm not a scientist.
Such a controversial pick.
If I haven't looked into all the nuts and bolts of this.
Well, she's a woman.
Okay, but if I'm going to trust anybody, and look, and I'm putting my personal politics aside here. If I'm going to trust anybody with picking who the best person to run the Tampa Police Department is, it's the former chief of the Tampa Police Department.
That's I can't disagree with that logic.
Maybe she sees something that
she ran.
others don't. I don't know.
And to Jane's credit, she ran the police department very well,
and she was very well liked too.
Wasn't she also? Didn't the FBI go after them for the bike frisking or something like that?
Yes, they did.
It was the bike policy. It's bad policy, but that's
bad policy.
But again, that's not. But the police department doesn't make policy.
No.
You know what I mean? And so again, it depends on where that policy originated from.
Again, I agree with your premise that on face value, I would expect someone that has run the department to be able to pick someone to be able to replace that person that they're looking for.
If she had been a terrible police chief, then obviously I'm not. I wouldn't.
You have to give her credit for that because she was very well liked. She was a good chief.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a lot that she knows that the common layman doesn't. I don't know.
Oh, so quick information. Dingfelder is the person who got the no prayer pass before a council meeting.
Oh, wow.
He got that done. Some other people are saying, Hector puts it this way: Tampa is a city of 300,000 who operate like a city of 30,000, projecting the maturity of a 3 million.
No, it is. It does operate that way. I mean, I tell people all the time, if you move here and you do your diligence in getting around to all the different community organizations and meetings and events and things like that, you'll know everybody you need to know in about a year, maybe 2.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Also, real quick, Chase Harrison set the record straight. The Justice Department cleared TPD from any illegal actions from the bike stops. So, okay.
Yeah.
That clears that up.
Thank you, Chase.
Yeah, shockingly, bikes have rules too.
Allegedly, they're never on the road, or I'm having to dodge and weave and ramble.
Oh my gosh.
I can't even. I'm not going to have a conversation.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching The Yard Sign, the most important relevant podcast in politics. It's been a fun show, as expected. Thank you again to that annoying gentleman over there. That would be Anibal David Cabrera, our lovely guest for today, and certainly not the last time she'll be on the show, that's for sure, because we've loved having her on today. We appreciate you making the trek outside of Carrollwood for us.
I know.
This is like I felt like I crossed 3 states to get out of here.
Girl, when we cross a bridge, we feel like we're into another state.
It's like, where is this damn place?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, I did not expect you to be by yourself. I'm going to be honest. I knew she was going to have someone with her.
I'm scared I'm going to get lost going home.
Where did Terry go? Well, she went to Ybor, and she's having a good time right now at Bradley's.
Well, I remember driving, when I lived in Clearwater, and I had to come out to Brandon for something the radio station I was working for was doing. Yeah. And I get past Ybor, which I was familiar to going to, And then all of a sudden, I'm like, where am I going? I was like, where is this Brandon place? I was like, I felt like I was already like way out of the county. I thought I was like halfway to Orlando.
Exactly. It's like I said, I've crossed 3 state lines. You know?
And it's easier to get here now than it was back then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Go 68th Alamo. Sometimes you're like, I have no idea where I'm going. I see the skyline. I just don't know where I'm going. Even trying to get back into the city. I feel like get back into the city.
Well, it was worth the drive, and I thank you very much. I've had a
this is a
tremendous
blast.
time. Thank you.
Well, and for those of you watching the show or listening to the show and would like to hear more of Terry and the gang, we're going to be hopefully doing a live show or maybe a recorded show at the very least from the upcoming luncheon featuring Attorney General Ashley Moody. That's going to be an amazing fundraiser supporting her re-election campaign April 8th with the Florida Federation of Republican Women. Again, for more information on that, you can look up the Florida Federation of Republican Women on Facebook, or you can just message us through any of our social media platforms, and we'll make sure we connect you with Terry. And trust me, if we give you information to Terry, she will follow up.
She will follow.
Absolutely. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, so on behalf of Anibal David Cabrera and Terry Castro, I'm Jonny Torres. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I'm cracking up. Oh, gosh. I'll see you next week, Monday night, 7 o'clock.
15 days into the Ukraine fight.
Good night, everybody. Bye.